It's so hard for you. It's so hard for you to accept. Some of us are just generally against it, whoever the perpetrator happens to be.
He's right, you know.
Crazy. Hey, if there's credible allegations he found it, all right. Pack him up. Ain't nobody wasn't nobody standing in between Bill Clinton and the Epstein files. I don't even think Hillary was standing in between Bill Clinton and the Epstein files. She was like, he was getting on my nerves.
Get the hell out! Get out! Get out!
Shout out to all the subscribers and the members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video. My name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled.
Breaking news tonight. Graham Platner is suspending his bid for Maine Senate, clearing the way for Democrats to choose a new candidate in one of the most consequential races that could decide who controls the chamber in November. Platner made the announcement just days after facing accusations of rape, which he denies.
Now, let me first say these are very serious allegations, and this is one of those situations where there's no good that can come out of this. You hope it's not true, but then you also hope that nobody would stoop to this point to invent something like this. So there's really no good way for us to come out of this, but certainly the allegation is damning, and if true, I hope in fact she gets her justice, and if not true, I hope that he gets his. But then you have the fact that this allegation lands in a country at a time where we are wholly unprepared to process this. How do you process this against the backdrop of what's already been alleged? How do you process this against the backdrop of people coming for Graham Platner who protect the same and more? How do you process this? It kind of reminds me of the whole Epstein saga, right? Where they thought they were threatening us with Bill Clinton. They thought they were threatening us with Bill Gates. Hey, I know this is crazy. But some of us are just generally against rape and assault. I know. It's crazy.
Folks, I told you we would continue to update you on the Graham Platner story. Here is another update from Ruben Gallego. We have a graphic. Please bring it up, control room. The allegations against Graham Platner are troubling and deeply serious. I am rescinding my endorsement. Democratic Senator from Arizona, Ruben Gallego.
It's so hard for you. It's so hard for you to accept. Some of us are just generally against it, whoever the perpetrator happens to be.
He's right, you know.
Crazy. Hey, if there's credible allegations he found it, all right. Pack him up. Ain't nobody wasn't nobody standing in between Bill Clinton and the Epstein files. I don't even think Hillary was standing in between Bill Clinton and the Epstein files. She was like, he was getting on my nerves.
Get the hell out! Get out! Get out!
So, wasn't nobody, you good? But, what you not gonna do is be out here posting about Graham Platner with a red hat on.
The only thing I disagree with is when she said that he hadn't been vetted. No, he had been vetted. All of the things that have been stated, it was all out in the public. And people like Ro Khanna, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Tim Walz, the Bulwark, Pod Save America, all these people came together to overlook it all, to explain it all, to rationalize it all. He was vetted. People knew all these things. And a whole bunch of Democrats in Maine showed up and voted for him anyway. And a bunch of donors from around the country sent him money anyway. I agree with Alyssa's question. What changed? Why are you bailing on Graham Platner now? You already signed off on tattoo, a self-described communist, somebody who's had fantasies, somebody who has been on a social media platform known as a playground for predators, and on and on and on and on and on. And the difference between this accuser and the previous one is simply this. She's a liberal. It's okay, I guess, for Democrats that their candidates assault conservatives.
Scott Jennings. No. Scott Jennings, come on. Hey, I feel the same way about this as I felt about the Belgium doing the Trump dance, right? Belgium was doing the Trump dance. I was like, hey, I'm not mad at the dance, but Belgium, huh? Belgium, huh? Don't make me get Congo. Don't make me get Congo. Since y'all want to dance, I'm with the trolling, but, huh? I need to understand. Just fundamentally, I need to understand. I'm from an era where this kind of allegation would result in a man having to leave the Senate race.
We believe that for the movement to continue, it can't be made. And for that reason, we are suspending campaign operations.
But we're in an era where the president got 30 of them things.
Man, this some more bullshit.
And don't let us have to start walking the halls of Congress, people that's already in Congress, start going into these state governments and seeing what y'all got going on. So I need to understand. I need to understand exactly what we doing. Because if it's one thing that I hope we have learned as people on the left side of the aisle, whether you call yourself a leftist or a liberal, whatever the case may be, if it's one thing that I hope we have learned, is ain't gonna be too much more of this double standard. Ain't gonna be too much more of that. Y'all done rode with that for a very long time. Y'all rode that till the wheels fell off. And guess what? They off now. They off now. Your boy don't got nothing to stand on for the midterms. Wheels all the way off. Got him throwing temper tantrums, refusing to sign bipartisan legislation so we can get the SAVE Act on a Hail Mary to jerry-rig the midterm. The wheels all the way off. Y'all rolled that double standard till the wheels was all the way off.
So true.
And then had the nerve to put that extra weight on the bike. Let's call that gerrymandering. You was already too big for the bike. You already had gerrymandering. You was already too big for the bike. You went and put that extra weight on the bike so you could jerry-wig further.
I think that.
There's been a lot of conversation that I've heard from the left about the allegations that were made against Graham Platner. And, you know, they've been characterized as smear campaign by AIPAC, smear campaign by Republicans, smear campaign by the mainstream Democrats, whatever the case may be. And you know what? All of that is possible. All of that is very possible. I can't put that kind of behavior past any of those groups. It's certainly possible. They have had a lot of to work with. They have had a lot of content to work with. I can say that. I don't know that we've seen somebody with this much content to work with for smear campaigns. You know what I mean? That's a lot.
Dating back to this Nazi tattoo in 2025. There's a lot of questionable things about him that have kind of just gone without much accountability, without much drama, because people really like his policies for the most part. When I say problematic things, he also had like some really crazy Reddit posts saying that assault victims should just take some responsibility. I think he also made some comments about like black people tipping. He's had a lot of weird, sexist, racist moments, okay? But he still has been a strong candidate in this race. He's gotten a lot of support and endorsements after like apologizing and taking accountability for these things. But things started to come to a head a month ago when a group of women who had previously dated or encountered him described a lot of troubling behavior, in some instances domestic violence, and really serious allegations against him. At the time, he just denied the allegations. He was like, it's not true. Trust me on this, it's not true. And people kind of just kept it pushing.
An inability or an unwillingness to even consider the limitations of the man you chose is how you ended up so far down this road with Graham Platner. Because one thing you absolutely, positively cannot say is, we never saw this coming. You can't say none of that.
It also just wasn't that hard to see. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want us to move so fast in this conversation where we forget the fact that like this was really obvious. The next thing that's going to happen is people around you or even yourself, you're going to start telling yourself, well, like, I mean, who could have known, right? Like this was a difficult one. And I don't want us to move so fast that we forget to acknowledge that this was not difficult. There have been times where it's been, this was not one of them. I want you to sit in the fact that it wasn't that hard to see and you still missed it. Do you know what I mean? Because once you can acknowledge that and once you can sit in that, like, be responsible, be an adult, grow up, be intellectually honest and be intellectually consistent. Once you can acknowledge the fact that it wasn't that hard to see and that you still missed it, maybe you can start asking yourself why. Why did you miss it? And I have the answer for you. It is because you are still not listening. Do you know what I mean? The very thing that you want your politicians to do, the very thing we want all of our politicians to do is listen. And you are responding to things, but you're not listening when black people speak. Do you know what I'm saying? You don't even have to agree, right? But you have to listen. And you're not listening. Sit in it for a second before you respond. Just think about what I just said.
You can't say none of that.
Oh, okay.
And to the extent that there were those that objected, even within your own ranks, those objections were shut down.
And what's crazy about all of this is that Jordan Wood was right there in Maine. People were excited about Graham Platner, and then they found out about a Nazi tattoo. Common sense people told you a Nazi tattoo should be a disqualifier. You should probably not trust a guy who just recently covered up a Nazi tattoo. And you guys said we were crazy. Mind you, it was just the canary in the coal mine. You thought it was rugged and handsome and mysterious. Jordan Wood had all the legislative experience that Maine required, and it wasn't Janet Mills. And y'all still said la 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 la. Now look at y'all. At some point, people on the far left are going to have to stop arguing with democracy. And while we would love as many progressive candidates as humanly possible, you can't ignore shit like Nazi tattoos. Because Susan Collins is going to have a field day with Graham Platner. All the things that we were worried about, she's going to be like, yeah, let's just talk about it. And that's what's so frustrating, because all of us on the left want to see progressive policy. We're just not willing to throw everything away for it because there's someone that we like. They also have to be qualified. And that's why leftists think regular left-leaning content creators settle on candidates and not strive for the most progressive, the most blue, the most whatever, because we know what country we live in. But shit like this could have been avoided. And had you gone with someone that had a lot of the same talking points as Graham Platner without the baggage, we wouldn't be having headlines like this right now. Okay? All right.
There's always a reason. Now, with regards to, because I know specifically when it comes to the black community, a lot of us had a problem with the tattoo, and then we explained away the tattoo, and then we had a problem with the other outlet. We explained away this, and we explained away that. It's just fascinating to me that even on the left wing, the objections of black folks or ties to racist behavior, as we saw with John Fetterman, is not a deal breaker. Because we were in such a frenzy to push John Fetterman in that we ignored the concerns that were raised by the black flank. And we see the exact same practice right here with Graham Platner.
Look, I don't think that people are the worst thing they've ever done, and I don't think that people should be like, there is a space for forgiveness, right? Okay, great. But the only people we ever seem to really want to enact that for is white men, and it feels like white folks are too quick to forgive another white man for harm that he caused to people that were not them. And it feels like the way in which we are expected to enact forgiveness for Graham Platner is by giving him a seat in the U.S. Senate, right? And that decision is ultimately up to Maine voters, but we all recognize that Senate seats have national impact, right? So ultimately, it feels like we're all being told, like, yeah, he did do these things, but like, you know, Janet Mills and what's that lady name, Susan, whatever that white lady name is, it's like they're worse. So like, we gotta forgive. Like, this is our best option. And it's like, my brother had a Nazi tattoo. What are we can't address that though? Because ultimately, what has Graham Platner done differently? He got the tattoo covered up. He's apologized. Okay, and that's great. But like, repair takes time. And I don't think that the only path to repair for Graham Platner is by giving him a seat in the Senate. And I think if you zoom out and look at Graham Platner broadly, what you're asking voters within the Democratic Party to do, particularly black folks and other marginalized people, you're saying that we have to accept racism, sexism as a pathway to progress, right? You're saying that, yeah, we need to make progress, and sometimes you just have to accept people who, like, maybe sometimes have a totem cough, and like that gets to be okay. And it's like, well, no. If we're saying that, like, we have standards and litmus tests for people to meet, that also has to be true for people who are progressive as well. Because y'all love to say no war but class war, but like, you'll call me during the class war, so we also got to address that as well, right?
Graham Platner was completely unavoidable because black people were calling this out in 2025, but again, we were ignored. But I have smoke for the larger creators and talking head to all of a sudden now want to say, oh, well, I never liked Graham Platner. I never trusted Graham Platner. That's why I never said anything about Graham Platner. And this is exactly why I said what I said on Sunday in my video with this white woman being pictured with these Patriot Front goons and looking away, because that shows exactly what happens when white people have evil shoved into their faces. They look away.
Graham Platner is a reminder to progressives that they need to make racism a deal breaker. They need to be talking about it. They need to be specifically addressing it within themselves, okay? Because if they had, we wouldn't be here. As soon as we found out about that Yahtzee tattoo, that should have been the end of it. The Reddit comments, that should have been the end of it. But every time somebody, especially black people, brought up objectives, the vitriol, as in more racism towards black people, telling us to shut up about the racism that the candidate you're supporting is exhibiting. Now here we are, and this is not an anomaly. We saw the same thing with Tom Steyer. A lot of progressives were pushing for Tom Steyer to be the nominee for governor of California. Tom Steyer had a company, or well, he still profits from a company, that uses private prisons.
This ain't all the files. This is not all the files. Half these names are blacked out. This page right here look like UPN Friday night. Ain't nothing but black on here. And I know exactly who it is. Why is he protected? Oh, because he donated? All the tax breaks he get, that was basically my money he donated. Where's my protection? You already know. While the haves protect themselves and each other, they do nothing when your phone numbers, addresses, and bank accounts are being attacked. And you know who that helps? Data brokers that take all the information they can find on you and sell it without your knowledge. And creeps. It also helps creeps. We know this because the bill that would have required data brokers to get your consent before selling your information is circling the drain like this Congress. This is where today's sponsor, Aura, comes in. Data brokers do have to remove your information if you tell them, but they make it as hard as possible. But Aura does the hard work for you, constantly scanning the dark web and submitting opt-outs on your behalf. Give Aura a few weeks and you'll stop seeing your information on these sketchy sites when you search yourself. They also include features like dark web monitoring, fraud alerts, a VPN, and more. Aura is truly a great deal if you want to be more private and protected online. You can go to my link, aura.com/ReeseWaters. That's aura.com/ReeseWaters to try 14 days for free. That's enough time for Aura to start scrubbing your personal information off these data broker sites automatically.
What seems to confuse me is, and I remember feeling this way in the Texas primary with James Talarico and Jasmine Crockett. What really baffles me and confuses me is at the end of the day, we're trying to stand in the gap and do what we can to mitigate the damage that has been done by this country with the way they moved on the 24th. But we also want to push for a lot more progressive legislation. I'm with that. I'm definitely with that. None of that happens without a united front. And I don't understand the wisdom of fracturing your wing just to push one guy into one spot.
In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. During the 2024 presidential election, there were many people on the left side of the aisle who were very vocal about Kamala Harris not being what they imagined to be their ideal candidate. But despite this, that group of people implored that the risk of a Trump presidency would outweigh their aspirations for perfection in their candidate. That group of people received an enormous amount of pushback from another group of folks who were on the left side of the aisle, who said that they would rather opt out of the political process completely than to vote for a candidate like Kamala Harris, who they admitted was better than Donald Trump, but worse than their ideal. They said making concessions for this person was unacceptable. We just watched that same group of people make concessions, though, for this person. And for anybody who doesn't know, this is Graham Platner, and yes, that is a Nazi tattoo on his chest. And not only did we watch them make those concessions and admit that he's not perfect, but he's better than the Republican opponent, we also watched them berate anyone who was considering doing what they did in the 2024 election, which is sitting out and waiting for perfection. And that completes a perfect demonstration of something I've said many times. Many of y'all's favorite leftists, maybe not all, but many of them, they started their leftism journey at anti-capitalism, not anti-racism. They became leftists. They became deconstructionists because capitalism made promises to people who look like them that it could not fulfill.
Let's go to Texas. You are more than free to believe that James Talarico is more electable
in a general than Jasmine Crockett. As somebody that has been very firmly with Jasmine Crockett during her service, the racism that she has elicited from the right wing leaves me incapable of ignoring that premise. That's a very real possibility. And I don't even know that I disagree with that, honestly. I don't necessarily disagree with that. But I need to understand the wisdom that your objection to the candidacy of Jasmine Crockett would lead you to engage in decades old suppression tactics and behavior that we can all clock, knowing that you're going to have to turn around and ask us to vote for you in November.
Well. How the turntables.
I don't understand the wisdom of that. I really don't. And as somebody who sits here in a creator space, I've been extremely disappointed. There's a lot of people that I unfollowed, unsubscribed, because I couldn't deal with their rhetoric and how everything magically was Jasmine Crockett's fault, and James Talarico was incapable of being called to the carpet for anything ever. Where have we seen that before?
Hi, this message is for James Talarico and his team. I'm pretty sure some of y'all still follow me on one of these platforms, so I'm just going to share this real quick. Stop asking black people what to do. You have everything you need. Everything you need is with you right now. You just need to actually do it. You have been having the same conversation, asking for the same information for months. I don't know if you are using this as a way to seem like you are actually doing the work, but the actual work is going to be putting yourself out there and being uncomfortable. So if you are as open to criticism as you say you are, what you need to do is get out of these closed meetings with leaders in our community that may or may not agree with you because of the position that they're in, and get actually with the people like you say you are, like you said in these meetings, and have what I would recommend, a town hall where you actually have to sit and look at and talk to the people that you ignored and abandoned in the primary, that you just let be on the receiving end of the supporters that you have that are racist. You've had plenty of time to gather information. Now is the time to actually execute on it, okay? Because you are losing time that is very much something you need at the current moment, because you cannot win the general election without us. You know this. Stop using the same talking points. Stop asking us what to do. You are not owed that labor. You have all the information that you need. I've given you information. Erica's given you information. Other creators have given you information. There are leaders in our community have given you information. You can also just pay attention. You have consultants. You have all these resources. You don't need anything else from us. Just do it. If you say you're going to reach out to black media, do it. Stop running away from them, because that's what you're doing. You have to be uncomfortable to repair anything with black people. If you are not willing to do that, if you are not willing to go off the talk track, you are not going to do well in that regard. I promise you. And what I'm even sharing now is beyond what I should probably even be sharing. But I'm tired of seeing the way that you are fumbling this, because it is dragging down the whole state. Because you were at the top of the ticket with Gina. So if you mess up, it's messing everybody up. And I'm tired of watching it. Because this is bigger than you. Please get it together. Stop asking us what to do and just do it. And please stop referring to black people as Jasmine Crockett voters. If you are speaking to us, which we know you are, just say it with your whole chest. Say black people outside of just these closed meetings, please. Because if you don't do that, all it's seeming like, at least to me, is that you're pandering while also trying not to spook MAGA, who you're trying to court at the same time, which I don't like, but that's a whole nother conversation. This is not personal. This is me caring about Texas more than I care about my own personal feelings, and I need you to do the exact same thing.
Oh, we're just supposed to magically forget because it's coming from the left.
Black Texans are heartbroken after two extraordinarily inspiring qualified black women, Vice President Kamala Harris and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, lost. With Congresswoman Crockett's loss, there are no, zero, zilch, nada black statewide candidates for the midterms. Black Texans are hurt, angry, and discouraged. You can clap, it's the truth. Ignoring that reality won't make it disappear. Telling us we have to vote Democrat won't motivate us to vote. But there is good news. We can earn the black vote. Not assume it, not expect it, but earn it. And let me be clear. We don't want Texas to make the same mistake this country made when Walter Mondale defeated Jesse Jackson. Too many people assumed Jesse's inspired supporters would simply fall in line. They assumed the energy and enthusiasm he created in black communities would automatically transfer to the Democratic nominee. It didn't happen. Just like today, with Vice President Kamala Harris and Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett didn't win, we can't assume the voters they inspired will simply show up. Inspiration doesn't transfer, it must be earned. So the question is simple. Are we smart enough, Texas Democrats, to learn from history? Will we invest in black Texans and earn the black vote? Or will we take black voters for granted and wake up after Election Day with a big L? The 18 Democratic members, for the most part, more than 90% of black Texans. We know our communities and we've earned their trust. But trust alone does not make people vote. The members of TLBC know our communities. We know our pastors, our county and precinct chairs, our neighborhood leaders, our organizers, radio shows, newspapers, podcasters, social media influencers, and the black thought leaders, political consultants, and pollsters who actually make black voters go to the polls. Radio costs money. Digital costs money. Organizing costs money. GOTV costs money. So if you know and you appreciate that you need us and you respect us, if you trust us, invest in us, work with us, not around us, and together we can deliver victory.
Certainly after the primary, after you showed your whole ass. And by the way, I'm not talking about James Talarico. And what's crazy is so little of my so little of the heat that I have with respect to that race actually lands at James Talarico. Not saying none of it, but very little. It's his people. It's his people. Now, granted, you could also say, and thank you for that, Denantra, about Talarico's a grown man. You could also say he has to commandeer his people and be responsible for what he's allowing them to do on his behalf. You're not wrong there. You're not wrong there.
The Texas Democratic Party and the National Democratic Party, if they want to have James Talarico win, they better spend money in the black community. The Democratic Party takes us for granted, and we're not going to just come out and vote for you. Times are too hard, prices are too high, we're not paying attention to politics. You have to remind us. So that's the big question mark in Texas. The group of voters that vote the highest percentage for Democrats is black people. Talarico better have some black people, and I mean in decision-making positions, and who can spend money on us, otherwise he will lose. And this is the greatest opportunity we've had in 30 years for a Democrat to win state. The Democratic Party and Talarico need to make sure they get the black people, again, in Houston, Dallas, they're in Beaumont, and Killeen, which is where the majority of black people in Texas are, and get us out to vote.
After the primary, after you done showed your whole ass, you understand that the only way you can get your man into office is to heal the divide that you have created within your own coalition. Like coming home late. You know what it is. You know you got to make peace when you get inside. Matter of fact, you already know. When you driving home, you already know. You having them imaginary arguments in your mind. That's how things would have naturally gone. You immediately pivot and see what you can do to heal that divide. But that's not what we got, is it? That's not what we got. We got a whole lot of trolling of Jasmine Crockett, a whole lot of we told you so, a whole lot of spiking the football, which is fine. That's fine. And you are free to do that. How does that help you achieve your goals?
Well, we're waiting.
How does that help you achieve your goals? And moreover, because this becomes bigger than James Tallarico, right? What does this do to your ability to achieve other goals? Because again, let's go back to the premise that I had at the beginning. It was more important for you to secure the nomination for James Tallarico for one Senate primary seat than to keep your coalition together. That math is crazy. Honestly, that math is nuts. The only way that math makes any logical sense is if you feel that you don't need black support at all, or you have taken it for granted. That's the only way that math makes any sense. And neither one of those is going to land well. Neither one of those is going to land well. So we go from how you moved during the primary to trolling Jasmine Crockett after the primary. And now we're blaming Jasmine Crockett and clocking what she is and isn't doing going into the general.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
So at this point, where you have positioned yourself with respect to black voters in Texas, and dare I say black voters nationwide, you thought that was the move? You thought that was the move. We will use you as a shield to give voice to the opposition. Stand in the way of you choosing to run for this seat after you were gerrymandered out of your congressional seat, mind you. Do anything we possibly can to kneecap said candidacy, misrepresentation, whatever the case may be. Gloat when you lose and demand that you support the guy who we have installed to push him over the edge, to heal the divide that you created.
Fuck off.
That's it.